Hi, this is Debbie with Book and Bujo, and it's great to have you here for my Newbie Book Tag. A little bit about me. I love anything related to books. I would love to get into bookbinding and creating my own notebooks and things like that. I also love all things stationery, anything to do with fountain pens and fountain pen inks. I love tea and... Alright, so question number 1. Why did you start this channel? Well, I wanted a place to be able to talk about my love of books and stationery supplies and all things Bujo, bullet journaling. I've also wanted to start a channel for a long time, but I think it never seemed like the right timing, and I think honestly I was just scared to do it, so I'm going to stop being scared and start the channel and just see where it goes and see what happens. Number 2, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? I think my passion for reading, stationery, art, I love pens, all kinds of pens. All things pens, paper, stationery, books, all genres, and I also would like to share my passion for learning. Question 3, what are you most excited about for this new channel? I think the community and interacting with other people who love some of the same things that I do is really exciting for me. Also, stepping out of my comfort zone and learning some new things, growing and trying, and not being afraid to fail at something new. So question number 4. Why do you love reading? Most recently, in the last few years, I used it as an escape from a stressful job and things out of my control. So I used it a lot for that. I also love learning and the adventures that you get to go on when you open a new book and you get to go through each chapter and find the fascinating things that are there. It just opens you up to whole new worlds, whether it's a nonfiction book and you learn something about a new culture, or whether it's a fantasy book and you get to just like go out into this new land where there's all these creatures and people that don't exist in our world. So it's just the imagination is endless. What book or series got you into reading? Originally, so my mom taught me how to read the summer after preschool, and it was I See Sam books. I still have such fond memories of that. I see Sam, Sam sees me, that's my friend. I just loved those books growing up. And then I kind of got into Ramona Quimby. I loved those series, and The Littles, loved them. And then I kind of it was kind of hit and miss with reading here and there, like Sweet Valley High and junior high. But I think what really got me back into reading when I was getting older was Anne of the Green Gables. Loved that series, just everything about it. I read that just late high school, early college, somewhere in there. Just, I found it fascinating. And then from there, kind of getting into the Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom series. I loved that. And then finding Robin Hobb, and just over the last couple years I've just been reading nonstop as much as I can get my hands on. Alright, so number 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? So I think I would ask, I think the thing that I struggle more, or feel like I will struggle with the most, is figuring out thumbnails and editing, and I get bogged down in the details and instead of just doing stuff. So like, what is the best editing software instead of just finding one and just using it and upgrading as I go? What's the best camera you should use? Can I just use my phone? Do I have to buy all this stuff? So I think some of those questions. Also, just how do you cope with the fear and uncertainty of a channel? So are you someone who just jumps right in all the time and does it, or are you someone who has to think about things and you get caught up in overthinking and overanalyzing everything? So for each side of those things, how do you deal with uncertainty and fear and creativity and inspiration? And a huge shout out to some of the booktubers that really got me back into reading and into stationery and all of that kind of stuff. And that's G with Book Roast. We have Becca and the Books with her Bookoplathon, A Frolic Through Fiction with Ashley, JD Ray Reads, and Cody's Book Corner is another one. Her Reel of TBR is awesome. And I just love all of them. The Wild Sasha and her Howling Pack. Very inspirational and entertaining. I just love watching their channels. And there's a whole lot more that are favorites of mine. So, question number 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? So for me, negative comments and not taking them personally will be a struggle for me, as well as getting out of my own head and getting out of the details and just doing something. So not overthinking software or camera angles and lighting and all of that kind of stuff, and just getting in there and just doing it. Question 8. When did you start reading? Well, I've definitely always enjoyed reading. I've never been, I wasn't really a voracious reader when I was younger and growing up, but I did always love reading here and there. I don't think I ever really had to be forced to read too often, but it's really just been the past 5-6 years that I've really gotten back into it and just reading everything that I possibly can. Question 9. Where do you read? Well, I made myself a little book nook here. I have a fun little Papazon chair, and so I enjoy reading here. This is fairly new though. I also read on the couch before bed. I read at my desk. I have a Kindle or an audiobook, my Kindle with me all the time, and audiobook all the other times in my ear. So I'm almost always listening or reading something. But yeah, I have my Kindle with me at all times. So even if we're just driving 10 minutes to go pick up something and then coming back, I have my Kindle with me at all times while my husband's driving. Or if I'm driving, going to the grocery store, I have my phone plugged in and I'm listening to an audiobook. So 10, what kind of books do you like to read? Well, number 1 is definitely fantasy. I love fantasy books. Most of them are right up here. And then I really like a little bit of everything. There are a few genres I don't really care for. Like, I'll still read them, but they're not my favorites. Like, I'm not really into poetry and prose. That more flowery writing is not my favorite, but I do still enjoy it. I'm not a huge fan of short stories either, because just when you start getting into a character, you go to the next one and you have to learn a whole new character all over again. But I also love cookbooks. I have a whole couple shelves up here that are all cookbooks, and I actually do enjoy reading cookbooks. So yeah, mainly fantasy. I love sci-fi, although I do love reading sci-fi, but I prefer watching sci-fi as in movies and TV shows more than reading them. Fantasy, I like both. A contemporary, if it's also a romance, contemporary on its own is okay. I do enjoy nonfiction. I like cultural reads. A little bit of everything, but fantasy's the way to go. Question 11. What does your book collection look like? So again, mainly cookbooks, all up there. I have some nonfiction, I have devotionals, I have prairie stuff here, so like Little House on the Prairie style books here. I've got my fantasy, I've got some contemporary, and here's some of my YA books from when I was a kid. So, and then just my Kindle is where most of my books are. I don't own a ton of books physically. I've moved a lot, so I tend to not buy physical books because they're a pain to move and pack and unpack and finding places to put them. And but now we're in a home. We just moved here, and so we're in a home that we may be in for a few years. So I may get some more physical books. I keep putting them on my wish list for Christmas, and so I've been starting my collection new here. That is the end of all the questions. So if you have any questions for me, or if you'd like to leave a comment, if you have a favorite booktuber that I also have liked, or that you think I should check out, leave it in the comments down below. I'd love to see that. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button down there and give it a like if you wanna, and I will catch you next time. Bye!